Yogendra Yadav made the point about the BJP being an inorganic party in Haryana. I think if you look at the historical data, there are some very interesting insights it throws up, because beyond what's happened in particular seats, if you look at the saffron surge from just 10% vote share in 2005, 9% in 2009, the party reaching 33% in 2014, 37% in 2019 to 40% now. So you've got 40 for the Congress, 40 for the BJP now. The others, whether it's the INLD or the JJP, now being reduced to a rump. The INLD at one time was 33%, now only 6%. The JJP in the last elections was 15%, now only 1%. It's the ascendance of the BJP and the fact that the BJP is now very clearly one of the two big poles in Haryana, which shows how quickly, that's the point that Pradeep was making, how quickly they've been able to expand and establish themselves in this.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably because of their organization. I think at some point of time we have to look into these results also from the perspective of what organization can do for the BJP, particularly keeping in mind the results that came in Madhya Pradesh and now that we are observing in Haryana. And is that something, because I know many people would hate me for saying that, but I did maintain that Lok Sabha results were over-analyzed. Because at some point of time, Rajdeep, we have to look into the self-goals of the BJP in Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan, and were that something which was taken by the opposition or given by the BJP. And if those self-goals in UP and Rajasthan would not have happened, then arguably BJP would have been sitting on the majority figure and NDA would have been crossing 300 mark easily.
Particularly Uttar Pradesh, which was their big... But you know, the fact is, at the end of the day, what are you faced with? You're faced, Rahul, with the reality that the Congress party in direct fights with the BJP is still struggling when the election is competitive. Which are the states where they defeated them? One was Himachal, which is a bit of an outlier, and you could argue that that was one... They won,
massive anti-incumbency.
Yeah, but with very short, you know, actually vote share margins in Himachal were barely 1-2%, but they made
not even 1%, less than a percent.
They made disproportionately.
Yeah.
Karnataka is the only one. And what did the BJP do post Karnataka? They went and tied up with the JDS to ensure that they shored themselves up. The Congress, on the other hand, we've seen it in Telangana, we're seeing it in other states where they've been in power. They are unable to recognize that victory also involves, or a close defeat also involves certain lessons. Have they learned those lessons? I'm not sure. No, so Haryana 5-5. Please understand. Haryana Lok Sabha was 44-42. BJP was still ahead.
And by the way, Haryana Lok Sabha, Congress plus AAP vote share they contested together was more than the BJP.
So therefore, in the last 5 months, what is the basis on which we thought that Haryana will be a sweep? We thought that there was so much of anti-incumbency that the BJP will be swept out. Truth of the matter is, even in the Lok Sabha, it was 44-42. So I think there's a, you know, if I was a Congress analyst, I would start wondering, do I have it to focus on micromanagement, or do I do Hawaii? You know, Rahul Gandhi comes, does his yatra. Is that enough? You need something more on the ground.
You need to take everyone along. If you look at a visualization which shows the BJP's gains and losses, and I'll show you the Congress's gains and losses, what will give the BJP strength is that in the seats of Jharkhand, they've got 4 more seats than the last time. In Kurukshetra, they're up 1 seat. In Bagar, they're up 1 seat. In Ahirwal, they're up 3. So they've got gains across the state. The biggest gains, interestingly, coming in Jharkhand. The Congress, on the other hand, if you look at their gains, they've gained in Bagar, they've gained 3 in Kurukshetra, they're actually down 4 in Jharkhand. In Ahirwal, they are where they were last time. And that shows how it's the seats with the maximum concentration of Jats, which is where this election has turned. If I look at the vote share here, the BJP has actually increased its vote share in the seats classified as Jharkhand by 5%. In Bagar, they've increased their vote share by 6%. In Ahirwal, by 3%. In Kurukshetra, by 3%. So secular gains across all 4 regions of Haryana. And if I look at the Congress's vote share swings, you've actually got a situation where the Congress has gained big time in Ahirwal, 11%. In Bagar, they've gained 2%. In Jharkhand, they've gained 8%. Kurukshetra, you've got 5%. So you've got, Rahul Verma, a scenario where the Congress has gained. You know, so it's not as if they haven't gained. It's in some ways, Mamata Banerjee versus the BJP in the last assembly. So BJP did gain, which is why when you speak to people in the BJP, they say, "Bada acha chal raha hai." Acha unko dikh raha hai ki acha aa raha hai. So they've gained 12%, but that wasn't good enough. So you fought hard, but clearly not good enough.
And perhaps that's why when you are on the ground, the party which is gaining in a greater proportion, it would look like a wave or Andhi or tsunami, whatever, right? The 12 percentage point gain is a very big gain.
Substantial gain.
But it wasn't enough because one, BJP not only held on onto its own, but also managed to gain some percentage points. So I think the second point which Preeti and others have been mentioning, which is that there was no sort of like pro-Congress vote, there was perhaps a bit of anti-incumbency sentiment. That was also not there a lot, right? Meaning that they held on to even that.
I think that anger sentiment that Preeti has been mentioning, Rahul, that is also, I think, it was limited to the anti-BJP vote, that sense of anger. And because that was much more vocal, it was being, echoed across the media platforms and everything. But the BJP holding on to their vote, which again, statistically is important, because when we describe an anti-incumbency, sometimes I ask myself whether a gain of vote is pro-incumbency or anti-incumbency, a gain of vote and loss of seat. Basically what, Rajdeep, to answer your question, it is a very tricky situation when you are in an exit poll trying to extrapolate vote into seat, where a gain of vote and loss of seat.
Can I ask?
That is the kind of thing.
But
so
can I ask
you see that as a pro-incumbency or anti-incumbency?
No, but
that's a big question.
Can I ask you this? And Preeti, you mentioned this in the, there was visible to many of us at the local level a desire for change, but there was no great enthusiasm for the Congress.
You never
so you
heard.
see, the Congress was at best seen as a default option. Did you get a sense that therefore people felt when it comes to it, yeah, theek hai, lekin all said and done, BJP has given us relative stability. Congress could not attract voters in Haryana.
So Rajdeep, one
So
more
I-
thing
Is that a sense you...
So
one
what
more
I-
thing that has been discounted so far are the schemes, including cash transfers to the women, which were brought in later in the leg. Same is in
So
Maharashtra.
could that have an impact in
100% it
Maharashtra?
has.
No, I
Absolutely.
actually don't think. I don't think, Rajat, I don't think schemes really had a impact, and I'll tell you why. Because Haryana is actually a well-to-do state. So when you go down, it's not like a state like Bihar or Bengal, where you know it matters. You know the direct cash transfer matters. Even the Kisan Samman
Yeah,
Nidhi,
Kisan, that
where
was
you
a
think it
extra-
matters, it doesn't create such a big impact. Now, what we felt was very clear. This was not, you didn't hear Congress.
What do you mean by very big impact? We're looking at marginal 1 or 2% impact.
But
that changes everything.
Well, I actually feel what it was that you did hear a lot of people saying that they didn't want the BJP, they wanted the BJP to go, some who had never voted the BJP. But I found people saying, I want the Congress, way lesser than the ones who said that BJP ne theek kaam nahi kiya. Out of 10, you will have 6 who would say BJP ne theek kaam nahi kiya, 2 who will say I want Congress. But Congress had, for the other 2 who didn't say anything, or for the 6 who said कि थोड़ा काम किया, became the default option कि और किसको करो इसको कर दो, but ultimately it would be.
काम किया ही तो beneficiary होता है, वही तो schemes
But
होता है, काम
then
करने का क्या मतलब होता है?
Also, when you talk about micromanagement, what happened on ground is this time, especially in the Sonipat, Panipat, Karnal, Kurukshetra area, for the first time which I saw, I did not see in Lok Sabha election, is the RSS cadre. The RSS cadre hadn't worked in the Lok Sabha elections. This time around, you saw a lot of micromanagement, seat by the RSS cadre.